Welcome to the Conquer Food podcast with Craig and Paula Williams, where we share tips, tricks and strategies from the coalface of the weight loss industry in the UK. We're going to help you to think, eat and move better. Ultimately, we're going to help you finally gain control and conquer food. Welcome to the Conquer Food podcast. My name is Craig Williams, your host, and this is the Quarantine Daily podcast series that we've put together as part of the Conquer Food Show. I've got an amazing power pair today with me, Rick and Nick. Rick, say hello.
Hello.
Nick.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
So we had a couple of days off from doing the podcast, a couple of episodes that we pre-recorded and slipped one in with Paula. That's starting with a double entendre straight away. So today, what I did is I posted in the virtual boot camp, the Conquer Food group, and said, right, what questions, what topics have you got for the podcast? We've got a couple that I really want to kind of get into today. But before we do, we're going to do our 1 minute of gratitude. Okay. My thing, because you know what I've realised?
What's that?
You fuckers never go, right, Craig, what about you? What are you grateful for? I know. This is like...
We just know you're grateful for so much, Craig.
Yeah, I'm grateful for you too. Really am.
Oh, thank you, mate.
No, but what I'm grateful for is the feedback that we're getting for the podcast. We're getting some really good feedback,
nice.
and some people, there's not millions of people listening to it, but the people that are taking a lot from it. So let's keep it up. Let's keep going and keep providing some good information for people. Okay, so Nick, I'm going to start with you. Your 1 minute of gratitude because you're sort of usually halfway between Georgia and Rick in the table. You always end up going like last or in the middle, but I want to put you first today. So
feel special.
Yeah, good. Should be. So what are you saying?
I think I'm really grateful for all of the people who are still out there working, doing their normal jobs. So I went to do our big shop yesterday because our online shop got cancelled, and it was really nice chatting with people in the shops who were still there doing their job, keeping people safe, still being happy about it, still just getting on with things, and just kind of, I don't know, make life seem a bit more normal. So it was nice. Yeah,
imagine being that worker. It's a woman at Sainsbury's where we go, obviously other supermarkets, yada yada yada. It's a woman that does it, but she stands outside and she's got to control the queue. I mean, imagine being that person right now. You know what I mean? With people.
Yeah, well, I spoke to one lady who said she'd got, I went into Superdrug because I was on the high street for a few bits, and I was actually kind of surprised they were open, to be honest. But then I thought, well, they sell medicines and loads of other stuff people need. And the lady at the till there, I was chatting with her, and she said they'd had one guy be really rude to them about the queuing system and the limits you can buy on things. And you just think, what an idiot.
One thing I noticed was you can feel the fear. Like I was walking down the supermarket, and you can feel it. People walking, the scarves are over the mouth, and
I didn't get that yesterday.
You not feel that?
I know. There was a couple of people I overheard in the the queue through the car park. One lady chatting away with somebody on the phone about that she was wanting to kind of get everything she could get today, so she didn't have to go back out. But other people, I think, were just kind of just waiting their turn. Maybe, but I don't know, it was just a different time of day, or standing in the sunshine in a car park cheered people up. I don't know, but everyone when I was there seemed pretty calm, pretty rational. Well,
the sun does help, doesn't it? So
definitely.
That's good. That's a good thing to be grateful for. Rick?
It's a slightly weird one for me. I'm kind of grateful for the freedom that this has given me. I know people are like, but we're on lockdown, how are you free? But I think mentally it's massively freeing. I've got so much time to do whatever I want. I mean, I haven't maybe utilised it to my best abilities just yet, but that's kind of good. I kind of like that I'm not feeling pressured to do anything or like I have to be any kind of specific way right now. It's literally just me and my head and whatever I want to do. So I'm quite grateful for that. Yeah,
I think every morning I've been getting out with our little puppy Dottie, and I wouldn't normally do that. I wouldn't feel like I quite had the time to do it, but now I do, and it's actually turned into one of the most special parts of my day. Like the other day I saw an otter in the river, which is incredible, and loads of birds and stuff like that, and it's great. So yeah, definitely agree with you on that. Right, let's get into these questions. In the group this morning I asked questions for today's podcast, post them below. So from Claire, straight away we got, how do you mentally let go? How do you mentally let thoughts go when they keep going round and round in your head and nothing seems to get rid of them? And I think we've all, and Cheryl jumped on there and said, yes, I think everyone is struggling with this right now. And I've definitely had that. I've had it a lot in the past. I still get it now.
Definitely.
You two resonate with that?
Yeah, 100%. I think there's lots of things with like, this is one of those times where people sort of like the freedom I was just talking about, you kind of have more time to sit with yourself. So you are prone to just letting things run around your head and let things get carried away. I think letting go is massive. I know in Conquer Food, when I've done sessions or when I've been in sessions, we've done stuff on letting go. It tends to be when you find like quite big breakthroughs, because people will sit with that moment and have that chance to think about what is it that they need to let go. And when they finally have that opportunity and somebody goes, well, let it go.
Yeah,
you see that massive breakthrough. It's quite a special moment really for a lot of people. I think it's hugely important. We hold on to a lot of crap in our heads, in our bodies, and it makes a big difference to what we do every day, how we function. So I think, I definitely get where Claire's coming from. I resonate with that massively. I've got lots of things that I still find creep up on me. I think I've dealt with or forgotten I haven't dealt with, and they creep up on you. You go, oh Christ, not this now, right? Okay, and you have to take the time and just sit with it a bit. I think is the first step.
So, in summary, then you think there's something to be processed.
Yeah, I think so.
And sometimes we're kind of missing a point, or
I think sometimes it can also be that the thing that's running around your head isn't actually the issue. Like it's probably tagged on to something else as well. It's like we talk with a lot of things. There usually are either there's a traumatic event somewhere along the line, or it's a learned behaviour or something of that nature. And it's the same with it's like habits. It's the same sort of thing. The more you think about it, the more it rattles around your head, the stronger it becomes as a feeling, as a thought. And sometimes we will distract ourselves with something else that I'm getting lost in my own loop here. Mm-hmm. But sometimes your brain will distract you with something, probably a more minor version of the same issue. So, like I was saying, sit with it and like maybe really process it. Try and figure out what it is that actually is the feeling, maybe the emotion that's linked to that, whatever is running around your head, as opposed to the actual event, maybe.
Yeah, there's a technique that you can. Actually, I first learned it in the intelligence world, where you'd kind of process intelligence. Are you all right, Rick?
Yeah,
a bit of corona there, kicking your ass. And it was the 5 whys. You know, you sit with something, you go, right, here's the question. You know, did this? Why? So then you go, well, so let me just give you an example, Frank. So it might be that you're really angry at someone in your family, right? Let's just say, you know, and then you go, right, why? Well, they fucking, you know, they were playing the music really loud last night and I couldn't sleep. And you go, why? Well, they got no respect from you. And then by the time you've gone 5 layers deep, you've got closer to the fundamental problem of what's going on. It's a complete lack of respect. You know what I mean? It just goes on, and then you know, so by asking those 5 whys, and sometimes you could do it, you know, draw it on a piece of paper and have like a ladder, why, and kind of work out what the core issue is, not just the superficial problem. Mm-hmm. Nick, quite keen to hear what you've got to say on this.
I mean, I agree with everything you guys have said. I think there's a lot of things you can do to help process thoughts that you're having that won't go away. So journaling can be quite a good one. Writing stuff out, even if you're not a journaler, you can write it almost like a letter to somebody or to yourself or about that event.
There's a lot of power in getting your thoughts on a bit of paper.
Exactly, and actually physically writing it out. I think there is some stuff about if you handwrite it out over sort of just, you know, think about it for a bit, you know, that actually cathartically gets it out of your system more. I guess depending what the issue is, if you know what the core issue is, or by doing some of these things get close to it. The other thing would be that there's loads of organisations there at the moment who are doing free workshops, free seminars, free things online. So if it's attached to a particular issue that's obviously not something we can help you with, if it's not food or fitness or anything, go out and see if there is some support you can get for it now. Because like Ricky says, we've got all this time right now. So if it's something you can be being proactive about, so it's not running around your head longer term, then go for it. Yeah,
it's one of those. It's a bit like the cat string theory, which I don't know if you two have ever heard that. There's a book. Probably shouldn't share this, but there's a book called The Game by Neil Strauss. Right? Okay, it's about pickup artists and all that, but actually it's about NLP. You know, it's NLP techniques. It's just used in a different way. And he talks about like the cat string theory, which is like, you know, if you dangle a cat. No.
You'll get restless. Yeah.
If you dangle a piece of string in front of a cat, the cat will like be engaged with it. It'll try and bite it and play with it and all this. If you just lay it down on the floor, the cat just gives up. And sometimes that's what these thoughts can be like. You know, we because we're not processing it to a conclusion, or because we're not looking for, because those kind of thoughts that go round and round and round, there's something you're not learning there. You know, and so that what I would sort of suggest you do is reframe what's going on, instead of going, you know, why is this happening to me, or why is this not, or what, you know, think, what am I not learning? You know, because especially if it's something that just keeps going round and round and round and round again, because Paula would tell you that's the universe slapping you in the face every day because you're something you're not learning.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
And humans, like, we all know we're special, some more than others, but you know, humans are special, and one of the reasons why we're special is because we have the ability to use our imagination. You know, like very few other animals have got an imagination, an ability to project their thoughts into another period of time, whether it's the past or the future.
Yeah.
And what they believe, where they believe this came from was when we went from nomadic tribes to settled farmers and whatever that word is, farmers, because we settled and we was like that, right, if we're going to stay here, we might as well build a house, because the weather's going to change. So we was worrying about the weather. We developed this ability to worry and using our imagination. And then they were like, well, if we're going to be here all the time, what if the fucking rain doesn't come next year? Right, what we need to do is we need to start getting a store of water, and what if all the seeds are bloody ruined? Right, and then we need to get us, you know, and we started worrying, and we've just carried that on, you know, into modern day life, and now we worry about everything.
Oh god,
absolutely everything.
I think that's just Nick saying about journaling. So just literally triggered a little memory in my head of when I was working with a counsellor once, and they said to me, because I struggle journaling, I like writing, but I struggle to write about myself. So she said to me, what do you like doing? I said, well, I'm quite arty, blah, 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 so that sort of thing. She said, well, why don't you video it? So and I found that really helpful, is to actually film myself talking about myself instead of writing about myself. And the other bonus to that is that if you ever try and watch it back, it's really hard, because seeing yourself talk about something, especially if it's difficult, is really, really like, it messes with you a little bit. But it's in a good way, not in a bad way. So yeah, if you don't find that you can write stuff down, maybe video yourself or voice note yourself, that sort of thing. And also, that's definitely going to be in your own words. Then you not feel like you're pretensing it with a bit of, you know.
It's funny you say that. I started this this little series. I want to try and bring these up just to sort of prove a point. I started doing a little bit of journaling. There was a time when I just didn't sleep very well. Here we go. And I started this little series. I'm going to try and, oh no, here we go. I started this little series called Midnight Memoirs, right? And I used to walk around. I used to walk around the field, the paddock, and I just used to, you know, with my AirPods in or whatever, and I just used to record. See if this plays.
How's it going? So this is the first in a little series, perhaps, of little memoirs or recordings that I'm going to do whilst I go through a bit of a weird stage, really, in my development.
So there you go. I'm not going to play that anymore because I'd never. Yeah, you're interested, but maybe I would release them. I don't know. It's they were never intended for me to release it. I just started this little series where I would just work through some of my thoughts.
Yeah, I think another one that's good if you don't like writing about yourself or find it difficult is to do it through a storytelling one. So put, you know, whatever is significant to you into a story, and it means that especially if you maybe live with other people or you're, I don't know, cautious about writing stuff down, depending how personal the stuff is, it basically means that you can create characters or situations in this which are significant to you and you know what they are. But if anyone else sees it, it's just a story. You can make it anything you want and, you know, make it elaborate. You can make it into a fairy tale. You can make it into a crime novel, you know, whatever. But it's just another way of, I think, helping your brain process what's going on with a bit more anonymity, if that's important.
I like these are all great tips. The final one I'll give you, unless anyone else got anything to throw in, is there's a kind of questioning technique called Cartesian logic. Obviously, Descartes, pretty smart bloke, and he came up with this idea of when you're stuck on something and you just want to clarify what the answer is. It might be that you're going, well, maybe it's a life decision that you're trying to make right now, Claire. I don't know what it is, but with Cartesian logic, imagine sort of drawing a grid, and so we end up with like 4 squares. Yeah, 4 squares. Yeah. Common game at camp. Nick's shivering.
The rules as you go.
And then across the top, you can put do, don't, and then down the side you can put will, won't. So what you end up then with is a grid where you can ask yourself, what will happen if I do this thing?
Yeah.
So it might be, let's just take an example, go to the shops. What will happen if I do go to the shops? Well, I'll get the things that I need. I'll get out of the house for a day. I'll have a bit of break. Right, you get the idea. Then across the top, you've got what will happen if you don't. Well, what will happen is, I might get a little bit hungry. I might go a bit stir crazy. You can see the idea.
Yeah.
And what it does, it gives us the ability to look at it from all sides. And then the next one is what won't happen if I do. Mm-hmm. And then the real weird one is like, what won't happen if I don't? Which really gets you to think about it. And actually, it's usually just a mirror of the do, if you will, you know. So, you know, and quite often if I'm struggling with a decision or a thought, I will do that, and I'll go, I got to capture this. I will literally draw out on a piece of paper and just sit there and go, write the question at the top, whatever it is, will, won't, do, don't, and just work through and sit, and you subconsciously you will move towards a box. You'll have one box which is just full, ding, 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 you know, whatever. Yeah. And you're like, well, that's obviously what I think about it.
Yeah.
You know, have you heard the duckbill test before?
Duckbill?
The duckbill test.
No, my head's gone full DuckTales now. That's not what you said.
The duckbill test. So this is another classic that's really hard to do on the podcast, but it's about the fact that before life got really complex with social media and TV and radio and all different forms of information coming into you, fundamentally we did a lot of our thinking on intuition and our gut. Yeah. You know, and that ability is still there. It's just we don't use it anymore. Mm-hmm. So it kind of works like that. So the premise is, and I've never used this, but I've seen it and I've seen people talk about it, is you basically make a duckbill with your hands, and then you put one inside the other, okay, and then you kind of exert pressure down, pressure up to an equal point. Ask yourself the question, and then one of them will be stronger than the other. And the idea is that whichever one's strong, like if you go right hand is yes, left hand is no. Yeah. Okay, so shall I go to the shops? And I'm getting a no. And it's weird. It's weird. What did you get, Nick?
I got a yes.
Yeah.
There's another one I think I've seen where you link fingers. I've watched it on a documentary. I think it's a Gaia documentary not so long ago where it's the same idea that you link them. If the link breaks, it's a no, and you keep going through. Yeah. There's something similar to that to find emotions. You go through lists of emotions if you're not sure what your emotion is, and you run through this list with this little link on your fingers, and as soon as it breaks, that's the one that you're actually feeling. If you can't work it out, I need to see if I can find it for you, Claire, and I'll post it.
Same idea, sort of the pendulum.
Yeah. It's exactly like the pendulum. Yeah. Right, good. That was good. I got some good stuff there. I like the idea of journaling.
Oh, sorry, I would also say, just popped into my head. If you're finding that it's really taking you off into like quite a heady space, then maybe just do some grounding meditation. Stuff like that will really bring you back down.
That's a good idea.
Brilliant. I like it. Okay, next one then. I know you've spoken about routines before. What time are we on? Yes, we've got time. I know you've spoken about routines a bit, but any more would be gratefully received, just to see how many people plan their morning day. Thank you. So that's from Bryony. So who's got a routine?
I'm awful at routine. I do not plan my days.
But you have routine.
I have routine, yeah. Okay,
yeah.
So I have
Everyone has a routine. Like you will all put a certain sock on the first each day.
Yeah.
You will all, you know what I mean? You will all
get the same order, yeah.
Who makes who's teabag first, milk second? Who's milk first, teabag second?
If you put milk first, you're a serial killer.
But what I'm saying is, we've got routines.
Yeah,
we've got everyone. You know, you've got to have routines in order for your brain not to explode. So the question is, have you got a proactive routine that you've actually designed your morning or you designed your day?
I normally do have a routine. It's not like a strict, this must be done by 7:15 kind of routine, but I normally do. But I must admit, at the moment, I'm really enjoying not having a routine particularly, but having, what I'm doing instead is having a list of things I need to do that day, because I'm a bit like Ricky said earlier, I'm quite enjoying having not having a structure at the moment, it's quite nice. I know some people are struggling with that a bit, but for me, the sort of midway point is having this. These are the activities that need to get done today, but it doesn't matter if I'm not out of bed by 6:45 to get ready to be out to do whatever at 7. I can lie in and wake up when my body naturally wants me to wake up at the moment, which I'm having a little bit of a vibe at the minute where that actually feels more important to me. It feels more important to listen to sort of what my body needs, what my mind needs, but still be proactive, when I am then up and about. But for other people, if you want a routine, I must admit I'm quite a list person, so I like to have a little routine. If you're really struggling with it, write it up and go, right, it's 7 a.m. I'm meant to be up and dressed. It's 7:30. I'm meant to go out and have gone for my run. It's 8:30. Have I had my breakfast? Some people, they really need that. And if you are a proper list person, you'll want to tick it off as you go, because that'll give you the satisfaction that the task has been completed. admin your list. But yeah, at the minute I'm just quite enjoying having tasks, but not timelines.
Yeah, I mean, you guys know I've got routines within routines, and I'm a massive advocate of it. I really do believe that environment trumps willpower and all that kind of stuff. And I know that when I do certain things in certain ways, I have a really, really productive day. Whether it's stuff with Team Bootcamp, whether it's coaching, whether it's my own training, whether it's the other projects that I work on outside of bootcamp, all these different kind of things. And so yeah, my basic routine, it kind of usually starts the night before, where I'll sit with my diary and I'll go, right, okay, what the be. In fact, no, I've actually got a monthly, weekly, and annual. I've got annual routines as well, where I'll assess the whole year that's just been and what I want from the year coming and all this kind of stuff. On a monthly basis, I'll be like, right, what are the big projects for this month and all this kind of stuff. And then each week, start of each week, I do a thing called what I call a focus finder, where I get a blank piece of A4 paper. I set a timer for 40 minutes, and I just sit there, and I'm just like, all the things that I want to, anything that's on my mind, from ditching the rubbish at camp to burning the leaves to cleaning the car, and I get everything out on paper. Because when we talk about thoughts just bounce around all the time, all this shit is taking up energy. It's taking up your willpower, determination. It's there at the back of your head. It'll keep you awake at night. So I get it all on paper. And then what I do is I do it in 3 levels. So I go, what's urgent? What, as in bound by time. You know what I mean? So, I don't need to explain that, but you know what I mean? What is urgent? What is important? So, are there things that I fucking got to get this done? And what is going to have the most impact? And I score it out of 5 on those 3 things. That'll leave me then with a load of stuff, which is 555, 555, 555. And they're the things that are like my big hitters. Everything else, because people say, we've got, we ain't got enough time for everything, but you've got enough time for the important things, So from there then, my daily routine will start the night before. I'll look at my focus finder. And if you're like overwhelmed or you don't know where to get started and all this kind of stuff, that focus finder is a great way. And do it for the full 40 minutes. Even if you sat there going, nothing else in my head. And you'll sit there for 10 minutes perhaps, like thinking, no, oh, bloody hell, I forgot about that. Passport photographs, you know what I mean? Oh shit, I need to check my whatever, and things just come out. And so sit there for the whole 40 minutes. So the night before, I'll pick out my 5s and go, right, okay, this is going on a list, this is going on a list, and I'm looking for 3 things, no more than 3 things to get done that day. If I do more, amazing. If I don't, that's fine, And then my evening kind of routine then is kind of settle down, watch a bit of TV. I'll always make sure I'm drinking at least sort of a big glass of water, stay hydrated. I start closing down the screens and stuff. I used to wear blue blocker glasses. I don't know if you've seen those blue blocker glasses, but most screens and now have got blue blockers on them. So just to start winding down the head, we go to bed usually between 8:30 and 9, mega early, and I'll sit and read. And I usually read like an autobiography type book. I used to read like loads of personal development, professional development, business books, but then I used to get really excited and didn't sleep. I'd be like, must get up, focus finder again.
Yeah.
So now I read like inspirational stories and stuff like that. And then, you know, I fall asleep pretty quick. Whether I stay asleep is something else, but I fall asleep pretty quick. The next day, I'm usually I'm up sort of between 3, 4 and 5. Since the virus hit, I've not got up before sort of 6 o'clock, which is weird,
for
you know, which is strange, but it still works. I get up, I head downstairs. I think most people reach across, grab the phone, see what's happening on the phone, and I don't. I'm pretty good with my phone like that. I go downstairs and I flick the water boiler. We have a filtered water boiler on. Flick that on, and I make some pour over coffee whilst that's kind of pouring over. It's I have a big glass of water again to hydrate after the night. I take my supplements, and then I head up to my office. And then the first thing I do is I write my like daily motivations. Is like the first thing that I do. A little bit of work, check in with my foreign workers that are in the Philippines, and make sure that they're all right. And they're, you know, we think we've got it bad in the UK. They are getting boxed over. Not by anything other than the virus, just
and they don't have the NHS
in poverty. Well, exactly. You know, they are in a state. So I hope they're all right. And then now I've started doing a little walk with Dottie, and then I'm back and I'm into my day. So that's kind of how I plan my morning. In that first thing where I do my writing, I missed a little bit out, a routine within a routine. So I do this thing called Lifesavers. It's come from a book called The Miracle Morning.
Yeah.
And basically Savers is an acronym, and S stands for silence. So I'll sit there for minimum 2 minutes and just inside meditation in effect, you know, and literally just concentrate on the breathing. I think about the thought, the feeling of the air moving through my nostrils, and very little of anything else, you know. So I'm just sort of silence and calming the mind and all that. 2 minutes, because I'm not a big, like Paula can meditate for hours and hours and hours, you know. Not me. Not, you know, I need to be getting stuff done. So a couple of minutes of that.
That's a very masculine, feminine energy now.
It is. It is a bit. And then A is kind of affirmations, and I've got a little bit of a unique way of doing affirmations. Humans love symbols. You know, you've only got to look at all religions, symbols. You know, flags. Everyone's got a logo. You know, we love symbols. So I have a lot of symbols that I kind of draw out, which means certain things. So the one that I always share is I draw a love heart with a P in it. And one of my goals in life is to have a marriage that people are jealous of. And so that's my little symbol for that. So I draw that out. And it's like setting an intention for the day, you know, and other decisions are made on the back of that, you know. But if I didn't think about it and go through it and draw it out, and I have other stuff as well, some business related, some health related and all this, and I kind of draw these little symbols. And I'm going on a bit here, but hopefully you find it of interest. And then I do V, which is visualizations. So I will, you know, I will sit and there are visions that I create in my head of where I want to be. A lot of it is to do with like challenge and adventure. So I've got the big race in Kenya coming up in September, you know, which absolutely kicked me in the nuts last year. And I want to go back out there and do as well as I can. You know, I want a top 10 finish in the race, which will be really tough. But, you know, if I start working now, I can get there. So I have these little visual and others, but not many, only a handful. E is, so that's V. E is exercise, which is my walk with Dottie.
Yep.
Nice,
So I'm just sort of stretching, getting out in the sun and out in the fresh air. R is read. So what I will do is, in the process of coming up with my daily motivation, I'll read. I might just pick a book off the shelf and just wherever it opens, and I'll get some inspiration from that. Or I might just fire up, you know, Reddit or Quora and just type something in and see what comes up. And you know what I mean? I just look for little stories. Sometimes I'll just Google motivational story, you know, and I'll read stuff. And then from that I will write. The S is scribe, so write. And I always try and write something every day. And that's my little motivation that I send out. So that's kind of, you know, and then there are other parts of the day, but I want to do a video on this to kind of show it. Yeah. And I think the key thing is that, you know, that's my routine. And just like everyone's fingerprint, you know, everyone's should be unique, because what works for me might not work for you. And all I know is that you will perform your best with a routine.
Absolutely, I completely agree with that. I mean, camp kind of proves that. I mean, for me especially, when I've not got a planned routine or anything planned for the next day, I will do nothing. So, yeah, I know for me, if I don't have at least one thing put into that day, I probably won't leave the house if I don't have to. So, yeah, it definitely makes a big difference. When I was at camp, everything's planned out the day before. And so you get up, you do what's on the timetable, you finish, go to bed, start again, and everything's sort of planned out and set for you. And you're definitely making progress when you're at camp. So, I think it falls into the rest of your
that's
life.
necessarily true, because I think at camp, we do set stuff out for you, but the people who are really successful do their own stuff on top of that and make their own routine on top of that.
Yeah, I think the key point is anyone who's proactive is gonna be a winner. Yeah. The minute you're reactive, because everything we do is a routine. Even if you get up, lie on the settee and watch Netflix, that is a routine. It's just not. Yeah. It's not productive. It's not. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it's a routine. Yeah. That's why you're fucking doing it all the time. Another thing that I do as well is I have 3 types of day throughout the week, and each day is set out slightly different. So I have what I call a focus day. I have 2 focus days a week, where I'm like, right, okay, I'm going to smash out work, and this is about really concentrating, working hard, and no one fucks about with my time during those focus days. And then I have what I call buffer days, which are it's like a half, these are the kind of days where I'd clean the pool, right, you know what I mean? Or I'd do a bit of fucking something at camp, like a coaching session or whatever. I'd do something sort of beyond that. And then I have a free day, and the free day is about, I don't answer work calls. I don't answer work calls anyway, but but I wouldn't do anything kind of work related on a thing, because you got to manage energy, and everything's a transfer of energy. So if you're not managing it, how can you focus 100%? Look, I could talk about this for hours, because even my working time is, I split it every hour. I split into a 40-minute focus block, and then a 20-minute sort of recharge block. And I have a website on my browser called focus.fm. I don't know if you've seen that.
No, I heard that.
And basically it plays music that helps you focus, and then through studies and that, it's worked out when your mind starts to drift off, it'll drop another sound in, like a bell or something strange, and then that'll refocus you, and then so you bang out. And I set the timer, work for that, little break, drink, whatever, and then back into another focus block. So I know I'm pretty extreme with the old routines and that, but then I do a lot like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you weren't, then lots of stuff would fall away. So.
Okay, so there's the music.
There it is.
Focus block.
Focus block. Yeah.
Ding.
So we're going to move on. We've got one more question coming in tomorrow's episode of the podcast. So we're going to dive into that. Let me just give you a bit of a look forward. What is it? I think it was posted by Cheryl. Every day I struggle to start with exercise. Once I get going, I'm okay, but I'd love it to be a lot easier. So that's what we're going to sort of talk about in tomorrow's episode. So join us then for that. Right, I need some closing words from you, Rick. Some words of wisdom.
What are the words of wisdom? Oh gosh, I hate this. Seize it. Seize everything that's around you. Take every opportunity that's there. If something comes to you, take it. Run with it.
Seize it. Right, on 3, we're going to give a big seize it. 3, 2, 1. Seize it!